Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Functional Longevity Podcast, where we give you insight on how to get fit, feel younger, live better. I'm your host, Chris Borda, best-selling author and owner of Y.E.S Fitness. Let me first thank you for taking time from your busy day to listen to what I have to say. But before we get started, let me also thank our sponsor, Y.E.S Fitness. Most people lose the ability to enjoy life as we age. At Y.E.S Fitness, we help people age 40 plus get fit so they can live longer and enjoy those extra years doing the things they love to do. Some real quick housekeeping here. If you want to get a timestamp or a transcript of today's broadcast, head on over to yesfitnessct.com. You'll see a drop down for podcasts. Click on that and we'll give you access to any of our now 289 episodes. You can also get this broadcast wherever podcasts can be found. Boost your longevity with particular supplements. If you're training, eating well, and still dealing with low energy, brain fog, or stubborn blood sugar issues, that's usually not a motivation problem. It's a cellular one. As we age, mitochondrial function slows, metabolic control slips, and recovery often takes longer. This is why I use Particular. Their NMN supports cellular energy production. Resveratrol helps protect heart and brain health. Berberine improves blood sugar control and metabolic flexibility, all critical for healthy aging after 40. These are clean, science-backed supplements made right here in the USA, and I've personally noticed better energy, focus, and recovery. So if you want your body to respond again, visit particular.com. That's Particular.com and use the code YES15 for 15% off. So hidden brain rejuvenation power that exercise unlocks. At Y.E.S Fitness, we often talk about training for strength, independence, and longevity. But today I want to talk to you about something that may be even more important than muscles, metabolism, or body fat, your brain. Most people think about exercise as something you do for your body. You lift weights to get stronger. You do cardio to improve your heart. But what if I told you that one of the most powerful anti-aging tools for your brain is exercise, not supplements, not brain games, tongue twister today, and not complicated biohacks. It's exercise. We have two recent randomized controlled trials show something remarkable. Both strength training and aerobic exercise literally make the brain look younger on MRI scans. Researchers use something called brain age. Using machine learning models trained on thousands of brain scans, scientists can estimate how old your brain appears based on patterns in MRI data. Then they compare that number to your real age. The difference between the two is called brain age gap. If your brain appears younger than your actual age, that is a good sign of your brain health and resilience. If it appears older, that is associated with higher risk for cognitive decline, dementia, and neurological disease. And here is the remarkable part. Just after a year of structural training, exercise reduced brain age by about 1 to 2 years. That may not sound dramatic at first, but when you consider how slowly the brain normally changes, this is a very meaningful shift in brain biology. So today I want to talk you through the research and explain why lifting weights and doing cardio both help your brain stay young. Then I will give you a practical advice on how to train for brain longevity, the way we teach it here at Y.E.S Fitness. So first, let's understand the brain age gap. But before I get into studies, it'll help you to understand what scientists mean when they talk about brain age. Using MRI scans and machine learning models trained on massive data sets, researchers can identify patterns that correlate with aging in the brain. These patterns include changes in brain volume, gray matter density, conductivity between brain regions, structural integrity of neural pathways. When the model analyzes a brain scan, it predicts the age of the brain based on those features. If a 65-year-old person has a brain that looks like a typical 60-year-old brain, their brain age gap is negative 5 years. That's a good thing. A younger appearing brain is associated with better cognitive performance, lower dementia risk, better executive function, and stronger neuroconductivity. So while these measurements, while this measurement does not literally reverse aging, it provides a powerful snapshot of overall brain health. And that brings us to the first study. Study 1, heavy strength training and brain age. The first study followed 309 adults between the ages 62 and 70. Participants were randomly assigned to one of three groups for an entire year: heavy resistance training, moderate resistance training, and no exercise control. That was our control group, no exercise at all. The heavy training group lifted weights 3 days per week using machine-based exercises. Loads progressed to about 70 to 85% of one rep max, typically performing 6 to 12 repetitions per set. The exercises included leg press, chest press, knee extension, seated row, arm curls, calf raises, hip abduction, and core work. The moderate training group performed light circuit style training using bands and bodyweight movements at around 50 to 60% intensity. So it's a little bit less intense, a little bit easier. After 1 year, the results were fascinating. Both exercise groups showed reductions in brain age of about 1.4 years. But the story gets even more interesting. Researchers checked again 1 year after the training program ended. The improvements were still there. In fact, reductions in brain age approached 2 full years compared to baseline. The control group, the group with no exercise, showed no meaningful change. This suggests that a year of consistent strength training may create lasting structural adaptations in the brain. Even more fascinating was where those changes occurred. The improvements were found across multiple brain networks, including the prefrontal cortex, motor control regions, temporal networks, subcortical areas, and cerebral systems. In other words, this was not just a small localized change. It was a global improvement in neuroconductivity across the brain. And there was another intriguing finding. The moderate training group, greater improvements in leg strength were associated with larger reductions in brain age. That tells us something important. The brain benefits of strength training are not only about lifting the heaviest weights possible. They are also about getting stronger over time. We talk about it often. Progression matters. You don't be in the gym killing yourself. It always depends on what your goal is. So maybe you need to lift a little bit lighter, but we need to progressively over. Maybe you're trying to make changes in bone density, and maybe you need to lift a little bit heavier. So it matters what you're doing in the gym. Progression matters. Study 2 was aerobic exercise and brain age. The second randomized trial looked at a younger population. The researchers recruited 81 adults between ages 26 and 58. Participants were assigned to either a year-long aerobic training program or a control group with no structured exercise. The training protocol aimed at 150 minutes of aerobic exercise per week. That's what's recommended, at around 60 to 85% of heart rate reserve. That means it's not overly intense. 85 can get up there with intensity, but 60 is not overly intense. That level of intensity typically improves cardiorespiratory fitness and VO2 max. Before the training even started, researchers noticed something interesting. People with higher aerobic fitness levels already had younger looking brains. Every increase of about 7 milliliters per kilogram per minute in VO2 peak corresponded to nearly a 2-year lower brain gap. In other words, fitter individuals already had brains that looked younger. So after 12 months of training, the exercise group experienced a reduction in brain age of about 0.6 years. Meanwhile, the control group showed a slightly worsening in brain age. The difference between groups was about 1 full year. But here's something that surprised the researchers. The improvement in brain age was not fully explained by improvements in VO2 max, body composition, blood pressure, or BDNF. This suggests that something deeper is happening. It may be the movement itself that stimulates neurological adaptations. Exercise changes blood flow to the brain, neurotransmitter signaling, synaptic plasticity, mitochondrial energy production. These processes may reshape brain networks in ways that traditional biomarkers do not fully capture. So why exercise rejuvenates the brain? When we exercise, the body releases a cascade of molecules excuse me, that influence the brain function. Muscles act as endocrine organs, releasing signaling molecules called cytokines. These molecules travel through the bloodstream and influence inflammation, neuroplasticity, energy metabolism, brain cell survival. Exercise also increases cerebral blood flow, delivering oxygen and nutrients that support neural health. So resistance training stimulates motor control activation and neuromuscular coordination. Aerobic training increases mitochondrial capacity and vascular function. Both forms of training enhance neuroconductivity across brain networks. The result is a brain that is more resilient, better connected, and biologically younger. So here's why strength and cardio are both essential. It's one of the biggest mistakes people make is treating cardio and strength training as competing choices. They ask, should I lift weights or do cardio for health? The answer is the same one I have. Beginning for decades now. Both. You need to do both. Without aerobic exercise, we cannot maintain a strong heart, high VO2 max, efficient mitochondrial energy production. And without resistance training, we cannot maintain muscle mass, strength, power, protection against frailty, and sarcopenia. The new brain research reinforces this idea. Strength training improves neuroconductivity and motor control networks. Cardio improves vascular health, metabolic support for the brain. Together, they create a powerful neurological stimulus. So here's some practical training advice for brain longevity. So I can show you how the brain, this is how we do it. Which is your goal, if your goal is for brain health longevity. And here's some of the framework we teach at Y.E.S Fitness. Strength training 2 to 3 days a week, depending upon your age and what's your goal, 2 to 3 days a week. Focus on full body compound movements that challenge the large muscle groups. Example of these exercises would be squats, leg press. We prefer squat because it is much more functional than leg press. Deadlift or hip hinges. Don't be afraid of the word deadlift. If it's done properly, it's a great exercise. Rows and pulling movements, pressing exercises, and core stabilization. Intensity should be challenging but manageable. If you go to the gym and you can't walk, you can't move, you're doing way too much. Someone is not training you correctly. You should feel it, but you should feel great when you're done training. A good target is 6 to 12 repetitions per set. We want to get into that, but there is need to have some progression there. So progressively increasing strength over time. Getting stronger appears to be one of the key drivers of neurological adaptations. Aerobic exercise, we want to do 3 to 5 days a week. Aim for at least 150 minutes per week of moderate to vigorous activity. You can do 75 minutes of vigorous activity if you don't want to be going for 150 minutes. It might be too long. But good options include walking, brisk walking. Let's get that heart rate up. Cycling, rowing, swimming, and as always, interval training. We love interval training. Mix steady state cardio with occasional high intensity intervals. This improves VO2 max and vascular health. And always move daily. even outside of structural workouts. Movement matters. Walking, climbing stairs, and staying physically active throughout the day all contribute to brain stimulation and metabolic health. Consistency is more important than perfection. So here are a few other lifestyle strategies that help support brain aging. Exercise is powerful, but it's not the only factor that influences brain age. Research shows other lifestyle habits play a role. Mediterranean diet, rich in vegetables, olive oil, fish, nuts, and polyphenols, all has been associated with healthier brain aging and reduced neurodegeneration markers. Blood sugar regulation appears to play an important role in these benefits. Even modest weight loss combined with reductions in visceral fat has been associated with reductions in brain age. Improving metabolic health protects both the brain and cardiovascular system. Always come around to sleep. Sleep quality strongly influences brain aging. 7 to 8 hours of consistent sleep helps regulate inflammation and supports clearing the metabolic waste paths from the brain. Vitamin D. Low levels of vitamin D have been associated with smaller brain volume and older appearing brain structures. This is especially relevant for people living in northern climates where sunlight exposure is limited. Let's take a look at omega-3 fatty acids. DHA and EPA support brain cell membranes and blood-brain barrier. Higher omega-3 status is repeatedly associated with better cognitive function and lower dementia rates. As you can imagine, you want to avoid smoking, excess alcohol. You know, that just accelerates brain aging and cognitive decline. So it's just some final thoughts on this. I often said that one of the main reasons I exercise is for the brain. Yes, strength training builds muscle. Yes, cardio improves health. But what this new studies show is that exercising may also be reshaping your brain itself. Just a year of structured training can make the brain look 1 to 2 years younger on MRI scans. And you don't have to be killing yourself. Get moving. Imagine what 10 or 20 years of consistent exercise might do. Never too late to start. This is why we train the way we do at Y.E.S Fitness. We are not just training for appearance. We are training for independence, cognitive resilience, and longevity because we want you to live longer and live better. If that's what your goal is, we need to train the brain. Stay strong, stay cardiovascular fit. And right now, the evidence is becoming very clear. Movement is one of the most powerful tools we have to keep the brain young. Lift weights, do your cardio, stay consistent. Your brain will thank you for decades to come. So if you found this episode helpful, share it with someone who wants to stay strong, sharp, independent as they age. And remember, the goal is not just to live longer, the goal is to live better. Keep training, keep moving. I'll be back. I'm Chris Borda, your host, and I'll be back next week with more information on how to get fit, feel younger, live better. Thanks for watching.